KMJ's Sunday Conversation with your host, Alexan Balakian. Sponsored by Gar Bennett. At Gar Bennett, we help growers feed the world.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into an all-new Sunday Conversation exclusively here on KMJ. I'm your host, Alexan Balakian. Sunday Convo on demand because we are in demand. We podcast where you podcast, and we are broadcasting in high def right there on YouTube at KMJ Sunday Conversation. All right, here's what I can promise you all. My guests, I hope, will never storm off our radio dais. Hearty and healthy conversations is what we do here, and everyone can speak their mind freely, kind of like, President Trump and that other guy these days. What's his name? Elon? Yeah, that's fun. All right, time to set the table before we get to the main course. Coming up in a bit, we have a historic event slam dunked into Fresno this week. The Armenia national basketball men's team began their quest for the homeland's first Olympic bid right here in the 559. The Tarkanian Classic alive and well, and it rocked the Fresno City gym. Team Armenia's head coach, Rex KALAMIAN, who is also the Milwaukee Bucks assistant coach, he will join me exclusively on what this means for Armenia, the Olympic basketball landscape, and if they have a real chance to make some noise in the FIBA World Championships. But first, a lot's been going on at Clovis Unified and the city of Clovis and all. That's where we begin today. We all have heard about Promgate. Has it been punctuated? Yes. Also, there was a Clovis City Council dust-up on the dais and the CIF under fire by the DOJ. So, we're going to have a hearty conversation with my guest. Clovis Unified Board member Dr. Stephen FOGG joins the show. He's been really the only governing board member that really been willing to talk about this, about the 8 kids who were barred from graduating this week at Clovis North. So I want to welcome in Clovis School Board Trustee, Dr. Stephen FOGG. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
So just your quick thoughts. Clovis, it's been in the news. It's been in the headlines. How do you transcribe it?
Yeah, we talk about these 8 kids. They're represented by legal counsel, but unfortunately there were other kids that were unable to go to prom because of actions they done. A lot of it has to do with alcohol, and these kids know ahead of time that that is not acceptable. They are told at the beginning of every year. They're told that at the spring, and then every time they get a prom a ticket to go, they say, hey, this is the rules, and if you break them, you won't be able to go to the prom, and you may lose other privileges. And so our staff are assigned, and they're required to protect our kids.
So the lawyer came out, Steve Smith, said the families did not want to move forward with any litigation. They want this behind them. Obviously, they're not walking. Is this a win for Clovis Unified? And as a trustee, do you feel the board? Do you feel in your heart everything worked out okay, or do you feel it didn't work out so well?
Well, it's a good question. Yeah, Buchanan graduated on Tuesday. Clovis North graduated on Wednesday. The kids were primarily from those 2 schools. Mm-hmm. It was heartbreaking. You have kids who graduate, you have parents, grandparents, you have aunts and uncles. They all plan to come to the, kids graduate. These are high-performing kids. They've done well. They have a lot to celebrate. And they made a poor choice, a huge judgment error, which they got those privileges taken away. I thought it was absolutely heartbreaking. Do I believe that it was okay, it's okay, we'll let this go? No, you've got to teach kids as early as possible. There's consequences to choices. Mm-hmm. The sooner they can understand that, the better their life will be. This hopefully will be a great opportunity for them to reevaluate. That was not a good decision. I don't ever want that to happen again, and they will be better because of it. Now, the controversy comes that there are kids who lied about it. Say, oh, no, I didn't drink, and they got away with it. Mm-hmm. I don't think those kids are better off. I think they're worse off because they feel like, oh, I can do something, lie about it, and I won't have consequences.
But why did they get to walk? Why did they get to walk then?
Because we had no proof that these kids, we had suspicions that some of these other kids were in violation, but we had no proof. Mm-hmm. And we've asked, even those that we had, plenty of evidence. Do you have more evidence? We will have other kids not walk.
Yeah.
We didn't gather anymore, but this is not something the administration went out to target kids. This is not about targeting kids. trying to keep them out. These are kids who were obviously, under the influence.
Okay,
Obviously
but because was the proof because they admitted it?
Well, once you see something, it's like someone going down the road, swerving back and forth to the officer.
Yeah.
The first thing he asks is what?
Have you been drinking?
First thing you ask, right?
Yeah.
So that's what was asked. These kids looked like they were under the influence. The first thing was asked was what? Were you drinking? He goes, okay, if you admit here, you're going to be in this line. If you're going to admit, because we wanted to identify those that didn't, then we had to figure out, do we have enough evidence that they did? Those kids that, it's clear they were drinking and they admit it, they never denied that. They got the consequences.
You're going to do something I think is pretty cool. You're going to do this private graduation. Now, the families are doing all the setup and all that, from what I understand. But you offered, hey, I'll be there. I'll be there to hand out the diplomas.
Well, absolutely. These are good kids who made a mistake. Okay, we all have been there. But this mistake should not erase everything they've done for years, the accomplishments they have. But we had to hold the line. You're not walking at graduation. That's the rule. But guess what? I said, hey, to Steve, and I was contacted by other parents directly. If you want to have a ceremony for your child, I will be there. I'll put on my suit and tie. I'll hand them it. I will let them know how proud we are of them, because we are. We're very proud of them graduating. Graduation is a big deal.
Well, is any of the other trustees going to join you?
Well, right now, I did have one come up to me and said, hey, Steve, if you're going to do this, I'd like to come along too. But we don't want to make this a big celebration. I mean, this needs to be private. This needs to be for just these kids. Let them know, hey, you know what? You didn't get this big, in front of the whole crowd. But we want to know that you and your family, those people that are important to you, are proud of you.
So it's going to happen.
They need to know that.
It's going to happen.
They have a date set for on the 14th, and they have some time. They're going to let me know when they have that all put together. And if they go through it, I'm there. If they decide, you know what, at this point we want this to be done, I'm good with that too. But they need to know that we are proud of them. They're good kids, and we expect the future for them to be bright.
I want to move on to a lot of controversy with the trans athlete, A.B. Hernandez. There was this big press conference with political leaders. It was led by City Council Mayor Pro Tem Diane Pierce. There was a dust-up on the dais this last week with Lynn Ashback and Diane Pierce. Lynn Ashback saying, this isn't Clovis. You've divided Clovis. You took it out on this kid. But then there's this conversation of fairness and safety. How do you think it's all been handled?
I have been very proud of Clovis Unified in their participation. Now, CIF, they rent the stadium from us. They do the same thing for the swimming. We have the state swimming. They rent that from us, and then we provide help. Most of them are volunteers. They love Clovis. We do a first-rate event. They come in, we give everything they need, and we have and they want to come back. This was feedback.
Wait. You said something important. They do want to come back.
Absolutely.
So the CIF is committed to coming back.
Well, they have a contract that we signed because, again, we have to negotiate because they have to pay for this.
Yeah.
So it's a negotiation with how much Clovis can get compensated for it, because it has to be fair to us, and how much they want. But there's no talk of them going, wait, this is the best venue for them. It's the middle of the state. We put on a first-class event, and the feedback to me was they loved how we even handled the controversy. That was well done. We had lots of people were safe. There wasn't any incidents that was anyone got harmed. And
can I ask you real quick? I want to butt in because you said safety for the patrons and for the athletes, but there was a big controversy at City Council for Clovis that there was $21,000 extra that was paid out to officers from Clovis PD that were there for safety. Should CIF have provided that instead of city funds?
That's a good question. They get a lot of freebies from us because we know when they come in our community, they spend millions of dollars, $6-7 million is what we benefit from this tournament. We're not going to walk away for $21,000.
Right.
Now, would they be nice if they gave it to us? Great, but we're not asking them, hey, you've got to do all this. We want them here. We'll do what we can. This was a benefit to not only the Clovis Unified as looking in for our students, but also for the city of Clovis. So let me tell you how it benefits our students. We have, I talked to a mom, or a dad whose son is a shot putter, state, ranked nationally. And Josh said, hey, it's nice that my McKay can just wake up, stretch, get a breakfast, and walk down the street and compete.
Yeah.
That's huge for our athletes.
Right.
We had 78 athletes at that state tournament, more than any other district in the entire state.
That's
78.
fantastic.
And of those, we had 12 boys and 17 girls that ended up being on the podium. There's no one. We came second in the state, but there are very few districts that had that many kids competing. We are so proud of that.
Trustee Dr. Stephen Fogg joining me. I have 30 seconds left, and I just really wanted to get this in. Did the CIF and fairness and safety in your mind, did they check the box for you?
I don't think I'm qualified to say that. I think it looked, I was disappointed in all the distraction because we should have been honoring these athletes who'd worked so hard. There's a lot more distraction I'd like to see. But we should be proud of these kids that competed, and hopefully we can. I don't know how you get rid of that distraction, but we got to look at the fairness of it.
All right, Dr. Stephen Fogg. Hey, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, he's coming back, I promise. All right, we're gonna have much more here on the show. Team Armenia head coach Rex KALAMIAN joins the conversation right after this. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunday Conversation here on KMJ. And as advertised, a historical event happened this week here in Fresno. Did you miss it? Shame on you. Kind of like an Olympic-style event rolled into town, and it was a major international exhibition basketball game between Team Armenia and Costa Rica. And joining me now is the head coach of Team Armenia, Rex KALAMIAN. Rex, and Coach, I should call you Coach. I feel like we're, having a beer now. It's like me and Rex now. But, Coach, welcome to Sunday Conversation. Welcome to Fresno. Man, what a whirlwind.
Absolutely, Alex, and thank you for having me on today. Thank you for the platform. And I'm excited to be here in Fresno. I haven't been in Fresno in, since I toured Fresno Pacific College. Probably, I don't even remember what year this is, 1990, when I was coming out of East Los Angeles College, getting ready to go on to a 4-year school.
Wow.
I thought I was going to go play there. I don't even know if it's around anymore.
It's here.
Yeah.
It's ready. Yeah. It's, hey, for those that don't know Coach KALAMIAN, he has an unbelievable coaching record in the NBA. He's like an NBA coach journeyman, as you will. The credentials run deep. Back all the way to 1995, 9 NBA teams, currently with the Milwaukee Bucks. And, we have a guy named Brook Lopez that is hanging out in Milwaukee that we know about. And obviously Giannis, the Greek freak, as they call him. But, Coach, you're with Team Armenia, and you've been with them, I want to say, since 2022?
Yes, last 2 seasons.
Last 2 seasons. Okay, so 2023, really getting started here. You came to Fresno to start your run to the Olympics, and it started here in Fresno. But you made this impactful. You made this journey to Fresno impactful with your players because you called it the inaugural Jerry Tarkanian Classic. Why did you do that?
Well, it was really the people here, the community here in Fresno, presented the idea to me about, like, not only are you going to come up and play this game, but why don't we turn it into just kind of to think about and remember how impactful Jerry Tarkanian was in this area. And when they presented me with that idea, I jumped on it because for myself, like, Jerry Tarkanian is a coaching icon, not an Armenian coaching icon, but a coaching icon. The things that he has done and did in his career was phenomenal. And I remember him a lot more, my age. I was watching his UNLV teams in the early 90s when he won the national championship in Denver. I think it was 1990 maybe. Great teams. Mm-hmm. And when they said, like, we could come up here and come to Fresno and honor Jerry Tarkanian, I was all about it because I think that he has done so much good for so many different people that for us to play this game in under his name is just the right thing to do in his city.
I first met Jerry Tarkanian when I was 6 years old. I still have that picture. It was my cousin-in-law, if you will, Dick Manoogian, who, I was at his wedding, and I was 6 years old. I met Jerry Tarkanian and had many conversations with Coach Tark over the years. And I'm going to just flat out say it. You got the young Tark look going on. You're going to chew a towel anytime soon?
I don't know. I think I may have to do that in his honor at some point during the games. But yeah, I do, huh? I didn't always look like this. I wasn't always as clean shaven up top. But through all the 30 years of NBA coaching, will gear you to lose your hair.
Yeah, let's talk basketball. Obviously, what the challenges for Team Armenia. I mean, I know that this has been a really hard thing for Armenia to have a national basketball team, but to compete, that's a whole different conversation. And now you feel like you're ready to compete.
Right. Well, a few years ago when the federation in Armenia approached me about coaching this team, there was really very little structure. There were very little resources to actually put the team back on its feet again. They went silent for a few years, right? So we've only been in existence for 8 or 9 years, and 2 or 3 of them we were kind of shut down because there was no foundation set. So when they approached me about it, the first thing I did was open up a 501c3. I opened up a foundation, and I said, we're going to do this, but we have to do it properly, and we have to fund it properly. So once I got a few different sponsorships and people backing the team, then I went out and I contacted the players, and I said, because we had some of our players who were about to shut it down and probably not play anymore in national competition, international competition. And I got them back in. I got them back in by promising them that things were going to be different, right? How we travel, how we move, where we stay, the gear that you have, the medical services that we're providing you guys. It's going to all be top notch. I only know the NBA. It's the only thing I've ever been in. It's the only league I've ever worked in. So I know how to treat players. I know how to run an organization. Now we just needed the backing of through the support of our, of the diaspora. Honestly, once we got the resources into the bank, said, okay, let's go do this. And we've put together a pretty good foundation now for our players, and they want to come back. Not only did we bring back some players, but we have found just so many new Armenian players all throughout the country and all throughout the world who want to play for this team now.
And you talk about the diaspora. What's been the response?
All positive. All Good. Positive. They understand that what I'm doing, how limited my time is, for sure, because I do work for the Milwaukee Bucks. I am in an 8-month NBA season. But I find time. My downtime I spend on Armenia basketball. Some people sit down and they binge watch a Netflix series. Yep. Some people sit down and read. Some people take long walks. Well, anytime I have, I devote my time to Armenia basketball. So that's where my free time goes. But honestly, the diaspora, the people throughout this country and all over the world, I get messages on my Instagram from people, Greece, Lebanon, just everywhere, Germany, wherever, Toronto, Canada, Armenians are all over the world, and they recognize this team. They recognize what we're trying to do, and they support it.
And so the challenge of recruiting Armenians primarily to play basketball, some Armenians like myself are vertically challenged. So, I mean, Is there the recruitment, much like Argentina and Spain and Germany and a lot of these top tier, obviously China and Japan? They're not close to USA basketball. You and I both know that. No one's close to USA basketball. But in order to qualify for the Olympics, where are we?
Well, we're still a ways away, quite honestly. But what we're doing, and you talk about recruitment, let me rewind to the early 2000s where Armenia, the Soviet Union, basically broke up. Armenia became a different state, right? Many of those people moved to Moscow. Okay, they were born in Armenia, moved to Moscow. They were relatively young at the time. Maybe their families moved them. Well, those people that moved are now have had their own children, and their own children now are 17, 18, 19 years old. They are Armenian heritage kids who are playing basketball in Moscow, whose parents now want to come back to Yerevan. They want to now leave Russia because of the war and different things that are going on. They want to be back in Armenia. We have a handful of kids that have size, they have skill, speed, strength. They're basketball players that we're probably going to get back into our program and back living in Yerevan very soon. So the recruitment never stops. There are Armenians all over the world. We just have to find them and make sure that they qualify for FIBA basketball.
All right, we're talking with Coach Kalamian here. He's going to stick around for one more segment. We're talking about Team Armenia. Obviously, they made this historic trip to Fresno to play Costa Rica. It's their chance to really have a competition. We'll talk about how FIBA may translate into the Olympics, which just so happens to be in Los Angeles in 2028. We'll talk about all that and more here on Sunday Conversation. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunday Conversation here. We are talking with Coach Kalamian of Team Armenia. They made a historic trip out here to Fresno as they start their exhibition series to get to the Olympics. But before you get to the Olympics, you got to get to the FIBA World Championships and play in competition there. And how do you qualify for the Olympics? It is hard. It is absolutely hard. So is Team Armenia ready to compete for that? We've been talking with Coach Kalamian about the process and how Team Armenia has had a battle. A lot of things, including new foundation and just equipment and training and getting the medical staff just in line. Do you feel that you've crossed the so-called hump to get to the point where you're ready to compete in FIBA?
Well, we're closer. We're closer than we were, 3 years ago. We're as close as we'll be and as ready as we will be. FIBA is an interesting federation, right? Mm-hmm. So as in the United States, we know NBA basketball, it's governed by the National Basketball Association. In international basketball, for those who don't know, it's governed by FIBA. Mm-hmm. They have their own schedule. They call them scheduling windows. So when their windows open, they give each country, whether it's Spain, Russia, Germany, France, United States, Canada, they say this is where your schedule is going to be. These are the teams you're going to play, and this is your window. So you have to now get your team, and we have players all over the world. We have to now fly them all into wherever we're playing, Austria, Albania, Armenia, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And we've got to congregate them there, and we have to play our best basketball. So how do you do that when you're only going to be playing a short amount of games every 4 to 6 months? You have to have your team ready throughout the year, and it's hard to do. We have to make sure that they are in shape, that they're playing our style of basketball. They understand what we want when we come together, and it's not always the easiest thing, right? Because we have a limited roster. We don't have a plethora of people to choose from when the window opens. Mm-hmm. So the best players have to be ready during that window, or else it's going to be tough to win FIBA games. What's
the likelihood that Team Armenia can make the 2028 Los Angeles games?
Well, I'll tell you what, South Sudan made it. In the 2024 mm-hmm. in France, and 4 years ago they were practicing outside 4 mm-hmm. years ago. They had very little structure. They had very little foundation. Their coach is a friend of mine, Royal Ivy, who's mm-hmm. also an assistant coach in the NBA. Mm-hmm. He took on that responsibility, and we talk a lot about national teams and the difference between what South Sudan is doing and has done and what we're doing. And we're not doing anything different. Like we're on par, we're on course for where we need to be. But why not us? Mm-hmm. is my question. Like the Armenians in general have always overcome adversity.
Right.
That's the definition to me of Armenians, people that persevere. And if you look at any group of people, Armenians are always the group that comes together, sticks together, moves together, and perseveres. And when you talk about Olympics, I don't see any reason why we can't play in it.
You got a lot of players that are certainly in the midst of that. I got a chance to talk with some of them during shoot-around earlier in the week. And, I was talking to one of the heart and soul members of your team that's been on Team Armenia. I think you had told me almost since the beginning. And, he said he's played in Russia, and now he plays in Ukraine, and he's in the midst of a war. I would imagine there's a lot of those players that not only are you dealing with trying to win and compete, but you're dealing with guys that are in the midst of a war, a literal war. How do you balance that?
No question. And honestly, some of these players, their fathers or maybe in the Army, their brothers, their cousins are in the Army right now. And there's a lot of different things going on in these guys' heads. So I have to understand that and understand that it's not always going to be perfect with them, but they're a resilient bunch, right? Especially the kids that come over on our team from Armenia and from Russia. They're fighters, and it hasn't been easy for them, right? And even the kids, some of the kids here that we're grabbing from the states that have the Armenian heritage and Armenian background, it's not easy for anybody, but especially for the Armenian kids that are coming from overseas. They love this trip, though. Every summer we've been coming here to California for the last 3 years. They really, really look forward to this trip. It's kind of the highlight of the year for them.
And, of course, that trip now includes Fresno. How much of the Tarkanian Classic do you feel is going to be futuristic? I'm looking at this, and just personally, I still believe the Save Mart Center is the house that Tark built. I know that his coaching days were in Selland Arena, but without that buzz and those sellout crowds, they didn't have money to build the Save Mart Center. And so that's really, in my opinion, Jerry Tarkanian Court. Can it be moved to the Save Mart Center? Is that something that you're looking at? And how big does the Tarkanian Classic get year after year?
Absolutely. What's the capacity of that arena?
It can be 10,000 and more, I think. Yeah.
We can do it. We need the backing of the diaspora, the Armenian community here in the Central Valley, honestly. Like, we will open it up and get to a bigger venue as soon as we know that we can handle the smaller venues, right? So the word is getting out. It has gotten out. People are coming to the games. I think Fresno is now understanding what we're doing here. We're doing a little more media. We're practicing. We're going to come back every year. We need to keep growing it, right? And that's what we're trying to do. What we're going to do outside of the FIBA windows is going to be great. We've already established that we're playing in the Glendale area every summer. Fresno area is going to be great. We're going to try to do that every summer. We're also branching out to go play in Boston next summer against Ireland in Boston. And then we want to take that into the New Jersey, New York, and Toronto markets. So if we can get together and play 5 games and just jump around the country, that is the ultimate for us, so that the entire diaspora in Canada and U.S. could see this team.
What is your coaching philosophy when it comes to the X's and O's? I mean, I actually love Phil Jackson. I actually covered Phil Jackson when he was with the Lakers when I was a sportscaster in San Antonio, and I just love the triangle. I know it's like kind of outdated, but then I saw Greg Popovich and moving the basketball. You cannot hold it. If you hold it, he would pull you. What is your philosophy?
Well, my philosophy is probably a little bit more similar to what Jerry Tarkanian's was. I love to play with pace. I love to play fast up the floor, pace and space. I love to shoot a ton of threes, and that's what I'm hopeful that our team will do night in and night out, and we love to get to the rim. So for us, it's like rim first. If you can't find the rim, kick out for open threes, but let's play fast up and down the floor. I want to play a brand of basketball that people want to watch. Not to say that they don't want to watch the triangle, but it's easier to watch when you're playing it with a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant.
Right.
Much easier to watch. I don't know if we are equipped to be able to install a big-time offense like that. I think our windows are short when we get together. Our practices are limited. So we have to play a style and a brand of basketball that's kind of easy, and you could figure it out on the fly. And ours is up and down the floor, playing with pace, and I'm definitely a coach who wants to move the basketball. You got to move it, pass it. When you catch it, you're either swinging it, driving it, or shooting it, but you're not going to hold it, and you're not going to dribble the heck out of it, because standing in place, dribbling the ball kills your offense, kills your flow.
I don't want to necessarily put you on the spot here, but you talk about Jerry Tarkanian a lot. You talk about his style of basketball a lot. And this town has been so hungry to get back to those days and that buzz of basketball. And, last year, we're going to give Vance Wahlberg his shot, right? But, that may be limited considering he had the worst season in history for Fresno State. It's well documented. It's, I'm not breaking news here. So let me just throw it out. If the Fresno State job ever opened up, is that something, knowing that you're working with Team Armenia, is it something that you could possibly entertain?
I've been in the NBA for a very long time.
Yeah.
The NBA is in my blood. I know it. I know how to coach it. I understand it. I will say that Vance Wahlberg has always been an exceptional coach. I will say that he probably needs a recruiting season to get his own players in. I haven't followed this program closely enough, so I can't really speak on it. I know they have a great assistant in John Welsh there, who I worked with the Los Angeles Clippers under Doc Rivers a few years ago, and I've known John Welsh for years and years. Both of them worked for a Hall of Fame coach in George Karl, and I think that they are on the right track. They have good basketball people. Having said that, would I entertain a college job somewhere someday? Absolutely. I think that at some point when the NBA, I've been in the NBA for 30 years, college is interesting, and honestly, overseas is interesting to me as well. Italy, Spain, France, Germany, those are all on the table at some point if I want to go that direction.
Has there been an NBA caliber and household NBA name that says, "Hey, coach, I want to come play for Team Armenia"?
I wouldn't say there's a household name, but there are NBA players that I've worked with that have, it's tough. The NBA is tough. There's only 450 jobs in the NBA. And every year there's 60 new players who are coming in, and there's 60 that leave and have to go overseas. Well, those players that do end up going overseas, they understand the value of having a European passport. And I have spoken to a few of them who said, you know what, I would take one of those passports because it's going to give me a longer career overseas when I do go. Some are only 24, 25, 26 who, you know what, they got pushed out of the NBA. Some are 31, 32 who are still trying to, play till they're 38 or 39. So I do have my eye on a few guys that at some point I'll go to the Armenian Federation and say, can we get this guy a passport because he can help us. Right now, we have an import a naturalized player named Chris Jones, who is excellent for us. He comes from Dallas, Texas, and he has Armenian passport, Armenian citizenship, and he absolutely loves everything about our team, and we love him. So it's been a good marriage so far.
That is awesome. I'll leave you with this. You've been so gracious. Okay, we got the Thunder and the Pacers. Now, I think diehard NBA fans are like, snoozer. But this is an interesting series. Our boy Dave Severance is the shooting coach and working out with the Pacers, so I guess I got to go with the Pacers. But how do you handicap this one?
Well, I'll tell you what. Just very quick story. 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was with the LA Clippers, we drafted a guy named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh, I know that guy.
So I coached him his rookie year. I was the defensive coach for Doc Rivers. Coached him a little challenged defensively. He was a little thin, didn't know what was going on. It's okay. We coached him and then eventually traded him. 2 years later, I went and worked for Luke Walton in Sacramento. We drafted a guy by the name of Tyrese Halliburton.
Wow.
Right? So same thing. I kept saying to myself, he reminds me so much of Shai. He's same build, but their IQs, both of them were through the roof. Like they were both great, I would say mature basketball players, even at a young age. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he had just come out of Kentucky. I think he played 1 year. I just, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, one of these guys said one of these guys is going to be the MVP of the NBA and the other one's going to be on the Olympic team and all the NBA play. And guess what, Rex? They're both going to play against each other in the NBA Finals in 2025. I would have thought that you were drunk. I would have said no possible way.
We're all drunk now.
But you can see it. You can see it. I mean, those guys just worked.
Right.
They worked their tails off, and they became better and better and better every single year. And you know what? It's going to be a great NBA Finals, honestly, because these two guys are super smart as basketball players. They run their team, and they handle everything so well on the floor. It's going to be, I think, a really fun series, even though they're small markets and this and that, it'll be fun to watch. All
right, Coach, I'm a big fan of yours. You have turned Team Armenia into something to be so proud of, and we're all rooting for you guys. And so we appreciate your time here in Fresno, and we'll be watching. So thank you so much for being here on Sunday Conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for the platform. I appreciate it.
All right, much more to come, including should there be a whole new CIF? I'll explain next. Finally, let's get social. And the CIF, the creating another media firestorm. Clara Adams, a high school track star, a sprinter from North Salinas. She won her event, 400-meter dash, in 28 seconds. She celebrated by grabbing a fire extinguisher from her dad, went onto the grass, took off her cleats, and extinguished them. A tribute to Maurice Green, who famously did that same celebration in the Olympics. How did the CIF respond? Yeah. They stripped Clara Adams of her first-place medal. Meantime, there's still no punctuation mark on last week's state championship track meet in Clovis that never made it to the finish line. It seems this feud over trans athletes being allowed to compete in girls' sports is only in the starting blocks for a DOJ investigation. The CIF and state lawmakers as well. My call this week to the CIF Central Section Commissioner Ryan Toss answered by his secretary. And when I gave my name, she quickly did this. Alexander's on the phone. Well, instead of huffing and puffing, maybe the CIF needs to be a little more transparent. Are you so far up the food chain that you can't simply have a conversation about the biggest elephant in the room? The CIF was built on the backs of kids who strive for greatness. It's their blood, sweat, and tears, not yours. You owe it to the student athletes and the parents to be accessible. Be up front. Out front, and not hide behind some quote in a press release and say, we're only following state law. Give me a break. That's an excuse, and it only shows how disgenuine the CIF is. Maybe it's time for the CIF to disband and a new interscholastic federation be developed that governs high school sports to the fullest capabilities of fairness and equity. One that clarifies fairness, as I just mentioned, one that is transparent, doesn't hand out participation trophies and make up rules and pilot processes whenever they want. Here's the CIF mission statement. Have you heard it? Every student in California has a unique opportunity to participate and experience being a part of a school team or organization. The CIF and our school communities support our students' journeys by developing impactful relationships through transformational educators and coaches who provide a healthy environment for growth and development. It is essential to have families and community supporters who display positive behavior, which will allow our students to create their own experiences. Where in the world did the CIF provide a healthy environment for growth and development by letting boys who identify as girls compete in girls' sports? Did the CIF allow Clara Adams to create her own experience? No, they created one for her by stripping her of her title because they say it was unsportsmanlike. The CIF has created a world where you can cheat to get ahead. Is that unsportsmanlike? So again, why is the CIF rulers of the high school sports landscape? They are tainting records, creating a world of inequity, and being judge and jury of athletes who just want to express themselves. Where's the moral compass of the CIF? I guess I'll just have to wait for that press release as well. And that's my time. And that's Sunday Conversation.